Hey guys, let's talk about last night's episode of Scandal. And we didn't get any more revelations about Operation Remington, but we did get a lot of Olivia and Fitz canoodling in a home built for the two. I mean, oh my gosh. We have not had very many Olitz scenes, and they sure gave us a ton of it in this episode, which was wonderful. I mean, I don't really know how I feel about this. Every single time Fitz calls Olivia, I'm like, break the phone, don't answer it, don't talk to him. And when she smashes it, and Jake comes in the room and he's like, is that going to do it? Is that going to like stop you from talking to him? He's going to find a way to get you. And when she pretty much gets an escort in a helicopter to this home, you know, he's the president. He can figure out ways to get Olivia wherever he needs her. So, you know, he brings her to this home. She's trying to ask him questions. He just keeps talking about the house, the view, you know, the intention for the house. And she's like, why did you bring me here? What is this house all about? And he says, I built this house for us. This is the home we were supposed to live in. He's like, there was a moment when it looked like we were going to be able to be together, and this was going to be our house. And there's lots of bedrooms for the kids. And it was just, oh my God, like stick a knife in me, gut wrenching to see her face when this is revealed and the look on his face when he realizes that this is never going to happen. Like, it's just not going to happen. And they kiss and then they make love and it's just so steamy and it's totally swoon worthy and I loved every second of it. And the next morning she pretty much gets up and she's like, I gotta go. And he's like, look, I'm going to take your dad down. He's not a nice dude. And she's like, all right, well, you do what you got to do. I give you my blessing. She's like, he is the head of B613. He knows what he got himself into. And she's pretty much co-signing whatever it is that Fitz has planned for her daddy. Ooh, yikes. Speaking of her daddy, we pick up where we left off with him going to see her mom in prison. And, you know, she confirms that she's been in this prison for over 20 years. And he's ready to hightail her out of there and take her to a new location because Olivia's been asking questions about her. And she's like, listen, I want to see my daughter before you take me away. I want to see her. And he's like, that's not going to happen. And he leaves and she's like screaming at him. And it's pretty cool. Then the next time we see her, Mama Pope is gnawing at her wrists. She is biting her wrists literally down to the artery. And it is disgusting. And I'm like, what this woman will do is clearly crazy. So she ends up in this, like, I guess, hospital bed that's in this prison. And Olivia's father comes to visit her. And he brings her, like, news clippings of Olivia over the years. And they have this, like, really cute moment where they're laughing and giggling and about how cute and, you know, skinny Olivia is. And, like, she's like, so where are all the other pictures? Like, where are the family pictures? And he's like, these are all I could find. And she's like, well, where have you been these last 22 years? Where's all the Christmas pictures? And it's like, yeah, good question, Daddy. And she realizes that they have no relationship. And she's like, I told you to take care of her. What have you been doing? Like, what did you do to her? And he freaks out and she freaks out. And he tells the doctor, you better make sure she's sedated tomorrow because I'm taking her out of here. And the next day when he comes to sedate her, Mama Pope ain't feeling that. Next thing you know, we see him laying on the floor with a syringe in his neck. So Mama Pope is on the run. Now, let's talk about the campaign. So we have Josie, who's been, you know, the Democratic candidate, and her sister/daughter ends up thinking that it's a good idea to stage a break-in and take this computer that was part of Josie's, had all of her files on it, and they planted it at Reston's place and tried to make it look like he was trying to steal secrets and all this kind of stuff. And it turns out that it was the sister who did it, which was kind of lame, but this ultimately ended up with Josie pulling out of the election. So it was kind of like, okay, so did we just waste like 4 or 5 episodes on building up Josie to be like this awesome, like Democratic threat to Fitz and possibly becoming the first female president? to now being nothing. So pretty much all we're left with is Sally running as an independent, Reston, who's going to challenge Fitz and Fitz. So we're kind of back to square one in terms of the candidates that are going to be squaring off against Fitz. And that kind of sucked. So what was interesting was Harrison hooked up with the sister slash daughter of Josie, which was, hilarious because it's like, Harrison really barely has a story. And we're a few episodes, we started to get a little bit of backstory on him, but they haven't talked about him since. So it's kind of interesting to see him get a little something, something, because we haven't seen him have any kind of hookups in the last 2 seasons of this show. So that was kind of funny to see. Then we had, Cyrus pretty much pimping out his husband to Sally's husband. And we all know from last week's episode that Sally's husband is really more interested in boys than he is in girls. So Cyrus feels, what a better way to get some dirt on her husband than to pimp out his husband, James, and have him write some puff piece and ultimately put them in a compromising position so that they can get some pictures. Melly's basically telling Cyrus, this is a bad idea because once you go down this road, it's not going to end well. And Cyrus is like, listen, my husband is nothing like your husband. He would never cheat on me. Little does Cyrus know that James will cheat. Because when he finds out that Cyrus pretty much pimped him out by Melly telling Sally's husband that they had an open marriage, it's like, okay, well, I guess it's fair game then. And someone snags some pictures, sends them to Cyrus. So Cyrus is now crushed that his husband cheated on him. Well, it's like, well, Cyrus, you literally dangled James in front of him, and now you're upset that it actually took? Like, come on. Like, Cyrus is always up to no good, and he's always willing to pimp out his husband for, like, his own gain, and it totally backfired, and I love it. Cyrus needs to get a taste of his own medicine, because he is just too much sometimes. So burn on you. Then we had some scenes with Abby and her and what's his name from the DA, and they were getting all cuddly and they were back in their relationship, having their little banter as usual. But it was nice to see him back in the episode because he was out last week. So you can see that they're trying to like just slowly progress their relationship, even though sometimes their work totally gets in the way of them being together. But I like the two of them together. They're cute, and we'll see what happens. I really do want to see more about Abby's ex, because he was mentioned a few episodes ago that he was at this dinner, this correspondence dinner that the president had, and they mentioned that he was there, but we never saw him. So it'd be interesting to see if we get a little bit more from that story. All right, guys. Now that brings us to Charlie and Quinn. And of course, we all know from last week's episode that Quinn killed the only witness to who was the person taken off the plane for the story that we've been working on, of course, with Remington. And now B613 owns Quinn. And Charlie pretty much said, listen, go upstairs, do your work, and I want you to spy and tell me everything that's going on and report back to me. And Charlie has basically been told by Rowan that if Quinn doesn't do what she's supposed to do, or if she gets caught, you're to take her out. And he has this look on his face like he doesn't really want to do it, but, it's either her or it's going to be him. So, of course, Quinn is like scurrying around the office, hoping that everyone's not going to figure out that it's her. At one point she even goes and acts like she's trying to get some information from another security guard that's across the street. And Jake sees her and he tells Huck that, pretty much that she's not feeling appreciated or that she's doing a good job. And so in this scene, when Quinn goes up to Huck and is pretty much like, I'll take over the night shift, like I'll take over, so she can pretty much sabotage the material that's coming in, because they're trying to see if they can get a glimpse of the woman's face through the glass reflection. And, she's obviously trying to put the kibosh on that. And, Huck pretty much says, listen, I know you think that I don't think you're doing a good job, but you are, and I should tell you more often. So, of course, at the end, Huck has seen the face, he knows it's Quinn, and he's sitting in her office with all of his tools laid out and the plastic on the floor. Oh my God. It's just like, oh my God, what is going to happen? Is like, what is Huck going to do? How far is this going to go? Oh my God. I do not want to see any of this like play out. It's just not good. And of course we had Melly, who I really have a soft spot for now after last week's episode. After getting a lot of her backstory, it broke my heart to see all of the sacrifices that she has made for Fitz and the fact that he just treats her so horribly. I mean, I'm glad that the writers gave her a richer backstory, and you can't just paint her off as the villain, as the person that we're all supposed to hate so that we can love Olivia and Fitz being together. At the end of the day, she is still Fitz's wife. Sorry, Fitz is her husband, and she is his wife, and he's having an affair with Olivia. And we have to really appreciate the fact that that is wrong. Like, that is just wrong. And you know, as much as we want to ship the two of them, Olivia and Fitz, like, he is married. And again, in this episode, she just is hit with the another, you know, realization that the two of them are most likely together. And when she finds out that Josie is backed out of the race, that means that Olivia is back on the market for possibly coming to work on their campaign. And she goes to Fitz and she's like, well, maybe we should try to get Olivia back. And he's like, well, maybe we should. And it's just like, again, another punch in her gut. And I'm sorry, I almost want to be Team Melly in this situation because it's heartbreaking. Sometimes these women, they do everything to stand by their men and they just get treated like crap. And she is fully being treated like crap. And I want to punch Fitz in the face for just, again, you know, giving her some glimmer of hope in last week's episode and then just turning his back on her once again. It's heartbreaking to watch. And I feel horrible for Melly. I really do. So lots happening. And the final scene is, of course, Olivia coming face to face with her mother. And it's like Olivia's face says it all. And her mother says, "Hi, Livy." And she turns and she just has this look of horror on her face that her mother is alive and well and standing in front of her. And we get the end scene and it's scandal and it is absolutely scandalous. Guys, another good episode. I mean, there weren't all these like big like shocking cliffhangers in this episode, but that was okay because there was a lot of like little moments that just kind of kept hitting you and punching you in your gut, and it was just like, oh my God, this show is just really good and it's just so well acted and I enjoy it every single week. All right, guys, that is my review of Scandal. I'll see you next week. Bye.